In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the 360 camera. I'm also going to show you some amazing 360 camera tips and tricks. Now, before we talk about technique, let's talk about 5 key advantages of 360 cameras. Number 1 is super stabilization. Number 2, you can get an amazing third-person view. I'll show you how in this video. Number 3, get amazing cinematic shots. Shoot camera moves that usually require hundreds or thousands of dollars of equipment. Number 4, you can shoot without aiming. That lets you focus on whatever you're doing instead of getting the shot. And number 5, selfies and group shots. A 360 camera is the best tool for selfies and group shots. Get your selfie and group shot the first time, every time. And you get all that in a camera that fits in your pocket. So now let's learn how to shoot with a 360 camera. When you get your 360 camera, one of the first things you'll notice is there's no LCD screen. Oh my gosh, is this like shooting with a film camera? Don't worry, it's a lot easier than that. I'll show you how. All 360 cameras have 3 buttons in common. Number 1 is a power button, number 2 is a mode button, and number 3 is a shutter button. So here's the Insta360 One X, for example. Here's the power button, which also doubles as a mode button, and here's the shutter. Let's take a shot, see what it looks like. Looks okay, but can you see my hand? It looks gigantic. So how do we avoid that? Well, we use a selfie stick like this, or this one that I got from a dollar store. Besides the selfie stick, you also want to use a self timer. Most 360 cameras have it, although a few don't have it. Now let's try it again with the selfie stick and a self timer. So now my hand looks proportional. But did you notice something else? The selfie stick disappeared. I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. Now when you're shooting with the 360 camera, it's really tempting to point just the same way that you would with a regular camera. But you don't really need to do that because you're capturing everything. So you can turn things around electronically and you can do it smoothly like this. In part 2, I'll show you how to do that. Even though a 360 camera sees everything, there's something it can't see, and that's the area between the lenses. The part where the 2 sides of the 360 photo or video meet is called the stitch line, and you want to avoid it. Why? I'll show you. Here's the stitch line, and watch it as I turn the camera and the stitch line hits my face. Doesn't look too good, does it? So you want to avoid the stitch line. Here's the tip. Imagine the 360 camera is a giant fan. If the fan is going to hit you, then you're in the stitch line. Having a stitch line is not always a disadvantage. If you use a selfie stick that's thin enough to fit between the lenses, it's gonna disappear. Besides using a narrow selfie stick, you also want to avoid bending it. When you're using the 360 camera with your selfie stick, it's really tempting to bend it like this, but there's really no need to. In fact, when you bend it like this, then the selfie stick is no longer within the stitch line and it'll be visible in your shot. Instead, keep the selfie stick in line with the 360 camera to make it invisible. In fact, the ideal kind of selfie stick for a 360 camera is a selfie stick that doesn't have a ball head, like this. To see some invisible selfie sticks and monopods, check out this video. At the beginning of this video, I said one of the key advantages of using a 360 camera is that you can get a third-person view. How do you do that? Well, all you have to do is use the invisible selfie stick and hold the 360 camera at any angle. You don't have to hold it like a regular camera. Instead, just hold it at any angle that feels natural to you. In fact, you don't even need to aim your 360 camera. You can just focus on whatever you're doing. Now, if you're starting out and this is all a little too much for you, and you want to shoot the same way that you do with your smartphone or GoPro, you can do that, don't worry. Just choose a 360 camera that has direction hold or forward-facing stabilization. With forward-facing stabilization, you can angle it any way you want, but at the same time, you can point it wherever you want. Now, you may have noticed that sometimes when you shoot a 360 photo or video, one side of the photo or video looks much brighter than the other. Why does that happen? Well, what you're seeing is glare. I'll show you. So with one lens facing the light, you can see it looks brighter than this other side. So how do we avoid that? Well, we turn the stitch line toward the light source. Now the exposure is a lot more even. You should also keep your lenses clean and free of fingerprints. And never ever lay your 360 camera on a hard surface. The lenses can get scratched, and when they get scratched, then you will definitely have more glare. So with so much freedom to shoot with a 360 camera, you might be wondering, what's a good place to start? Well, a good rule of thumb is to keep the 360 camera at around shoulder height or chin height, and at around speaking distance when you're shooting videos of people. So now you know the basics of shooting with a 360 camera. But how do you view the photos and videos, and how do you share them to social media? Well, it depends on the camera, and I have guides for many cameras. I have links in the description below. If you want to shoot third-person view videos of your car, watch my next video. I'll also show you a must-have accessory for all 360 cameras. Thanks, and I'll see you in 360.